So what discomfort do you choose? The discomfort of staying the same or the discomfort of growth? Because you need to grow in order to resolve your emotional eating. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. And I wanted to talk about discomfort and the choice you have to make in order to create change in your life. So while I teach women to get to ease and confidence around food and in their body, it requires a level of change. And any type of change and any time you step out of your comfort zone, there is an element of discomfort because you're hitting up against your limits and your walls. So you have to decide, is the discomfort of staying the same worth it, or the discomfort of actually getting to the other side where ease and confidence live? And so I know what choice I would make, and maybe you don't realize that there is a choice you're making. So the reason I want to talk about this today is that a lot of the times when I talk to women about their emotional eating, they have been in this cycle for years and decades, and they seem to keep falling into the same trap of the quick fixes, the solutions that tell them it's going to be easy, you just have to do this. And they don't realize that they need more support in order to get to the other side. And so even when I was on my own journey, it wasn't that I was looking for an easy way out of what was going on, but most of the things that are sold to us is that it's easy and it's going to get you there and it's going to be pain-free. Any level of growth requires discomfort, which is in a sense, pain. The reason is we have to step outside of our comfort zone. And our comfort zone feels comfortable because we are used to it. We are familiar with it. It doesn't mean it's literally comfortable. It's just we're familiar with it. So it makes us feel safe. And to do something different requires new emotions and this sense of discomfort. And so if you're an emotional eater, usually when you hit up against discomfort or distress or you have to grow, that triggers you into more emotional eating. But you need to walk through this because those emotions, the fears, the excitement, the nervousness is what's needed to get to the other side. It's that courage and bravery. And there's no way to change without having to go through this. But there is a way to do it in a way that is, not to say easeful, but in a way where you can help yourself move through it and you don't fall back into old patterns. And that's with having support and guidance, someone who's been through it so that you don't panic that you're doing it wrong. But if you try to change on your own and you hit up against your edge, you feel like this isn't safe and your brain is going to tell you to go back to what you know. And it's going to be the same familiar patterns, the same way of coping. You might just end up in the same cycles with your emotional eating. You have to cross that bridge. You have to move through whatever's coming up, that discomfort, in order to resolve this pattern. And so, it's something that's not great to talk about because most of the time, no one wants to hear that. They want to hear it's super easy, it's super simple, and the reality is that if you're buying into those super easy and super simple solutions without understanding the trajectory or what happens in the journey of growth, you are going to get temporary quick fixes. So there's always going to be a consequence to those. So when you've been dieting, for example, yo-yo dieting your whole life, and for the first month or two, you get the results. What my clients notice is time and time again, as they start doing it, they've been doing it, they can't get the same results. They can't willpower their way into the diet. They've damaged their bodies. They've damaged their metabolism. And now they're out of control with their emotional eating and they don't have a solution. So this is what happens. We have to really move through the growth and getting into the root, because when you do that, you feel a shift in your body. You feel it on a body level. There's an awareness that comes to you that's like, wow, I didn't realize that. And so if you're still putting a band-aid and trying to fix your emotional eating and you're still gripping and willpowering, you haven't resolved it. You haven't moved through the discomfort you need to get to the other side. And by going through this discomfort, this growth edge, and doing something different, that's where ease and confidence live, because once you get through it, you're going to feel confident that you moved through it. Once you get to the root and you face what you need to face, you're going to feel confident around it, and it's going to become your new normal, and it's going to feel easeful. And so life is always going to happen. And so you need tools to get you through that. And that's part of the process I teach to clients. And so in order to do this, you have to be willing to do something different. You can't get the result you want by doing the same things. So the same things, we can categorize them as the diets or the pills or, the new drug that comes out or the surgery, or even you're in talk therapy for years and years and you're not getting that shift that you want to get. It shouldn't take that long. You should feel it within, a few weeks, a few months. When I'm working with clients, they start realizing and having awareness within the first few weeks of the program, because we're actually hitting into what's going on. We're not distracting. We're not putting a new strategy on top of it. We're actually looking at what's going on, and they're getting feedback from their body. And so this is all to say that you need to be in a program, if you're resolving your emotional eating, that can support you through the discomfort, that can see your journey, that knows you're going to get triggered, that knows you're going to have things pop up, you're going to have resistance, and get you through it. If I were to just hand my clients, so there is a step-by-step process in the program, and it does help them with resistance, and I left them to their own devices, and they didn't push past their edge because I was there sort of guiding them and giving them a little bit of a boost forward, they might fall into old patterns because they're still in fear. They're still wanting to feel safe, and they haven't learned to discern that voice inside of, this is fear and what is it telling me, and can I move through it? Or this is really where my stop is, or this is like past my actual authentic limit. And so we need to be able to move through a process and to allow ourselves to do that in order to get to the other side. Otherwise, we're going to stay in our uncomfortable comfort zone and we're not going to get anywhere. And the repercussions of that is that something bigger is going to happen. So when you don't look at your emotional eating, because it's covering up your emotions, which are your guidance in this life, it's almost like you're living life on autopilot, or what you think you should do, and you're kind of numbing with emotional eating, and you're going to get to a point where something big might have to crash into you to wake you up to actually look at the root, and you're not going to live the life that you want, because your emotions are deeply connected to your authenticity and what you need in this life. And if you keep covering it up with food, you're not going to hear those messages. You're not going to be able to feel good. And what a lot of my clients say, sometimes it's that dangling carrot. We think when we finally reach the weight, a lot of emotional eaters have an issue with weight. When we finally reach that weight goal, we'll finally feel good, because subconsciously we think we're going to get the acceptance and love we're really craving. And what happens to a lot of my clients is that they think back to those times they reached that goal weight and it was empty. They weren't fulfilled. They didn't get the things they wanted. It was very short-lived. And I reached that goal too. And when I reached that, and this was a blessing in disguise, I realized it was empty. And it didn't matter what I looked like. That was temporary. There's only so many compliments you can get. It doesn't fill you up. You can't constantly be chasing after someone's compliments and them filling you up. You have to do that yourself. And when you don't get that from the outside because you've been striving for this goal, then it falls flat and you go back into old ways of being, because that, reaching that goal weight doesn't fill up that emotional need you have. It doesn't really get into the root, and you're basing your self-worth on sand versus a solid foundation. So in order to get what you want, you have to go through some discomfort. You have to recognize growth. If we look at school and some of the systems, it's that every year we're growing and we're learning more and we're wanting to challenge ourselves. It doesn't end. We're meant to learn and grow and evolve and challenge ourselves. And that is what being human is all about. There's just an internal drive, and there's an internal drive for movement, for moving forward. And if you don't have that and you feel apathetic and sort of like stuck, that's why. So how do we start moving past this? How do we start feeling okay with the discomfort? Well, I just want to say that it's not forever. Discomfort and uncomfortable emotions are not something that live with you. They're something that move through you. And once you're resolving your emotional eating pattern, it's a key step in the process. It's not just you're resolving the emotions under your triggers of your emotional eating. You're also resolving your resistance to looking at your emotional eating. You're looking at your resistance to changing the way you think about things and feel about things. You're looking at why you're stuck in this pattern. And that tends to fall into three main areas. Because of the way the pattern was developed, emotional eating is a coping mechanism that would have formed in childhood where we didn't have parents or caregivers to help us navigate these uncomfortable emotions, to help us move through them and get to the other side of resolution. So I have a 9-year-old son, and I've been doing this work that I do with clients with him. Obviously, he's not an emotional eater. We're just getting right into the emotions and the discomfort that comes up. And as children are emotional beings. Their prefrontal cortex isn't developed. It actually isn't fully developed into our 20s. And they're sensing their environment. And that means that they are sensing and creating emotions. They feel the world. They don't think about the world. And so when they feel the world and it feels uncomfortable, they need parents and caregivers, grown-ups who have developed nervous systems to guide them through that. So they need a safe place, a calm nervous system to guide them through the discomfort, the uncomfortable emotion, so they can flow through their body, so they don't seize up and hold them in. And when they do that, those emotions are giving us nuances about what is going on. What is it about? How am I feeling? Is it fear with sadness? What are the layers of emotions? And what are the messages we're feeling about this? So did someone hurt us at school? Did the teacher say something to us that didn't feel good in our body? And when we get these messages at this younger age, and for example, my son, I can hear from him what he needs. That didn't feel good in his body. What would he need instead? And then he can take a step. If it's a friend, maybe tell that friend or not be friends with that person. If it's with the teacher or an adult, I can advocate for him. I can show up for him. And so here we're resolving this because our emotions are giving us information. What we've done when we have this coping mechanism is that our parents or caregivers dismissed emotions. They thought we shouldn't feel them. They didn't understand the importance of them. And so we had to hold those in our body. We didn't have the safe space to let them flow through us to hear the messages. And so we hold them within our body and we had to cope with that discomfort. So we put food on top of it. We can put other addictive strategies on top of it, but here we're really focused on food and how we've been avoiding these emotions because we didn't have another way to deal with them. Now that you're older and it's become an issue, it's time to dive in and start resolving this. It's time to go towards that discomfort that wasn't felt and moved through at a younger age to get to the other side. It's time to learn how to do that for yourself. And so this tends to be triggered especially for emotional eaters around their relationship. Now that they've used food to numb out of emotions, their relationship to food is not healthy. Their relationship to their body is not healthy because they feel this discomfort and don't know what to do with it and their emotions. And so we need to move through these 3 layers to get to the other side of emotional eating. It's very targeted and specific. And if you want more details about what that might look like, you can find out more about my program, the Emotional Eating Evolution Program. There are links below and it'll help, you sort of see what that process looks like. But there are layers to this pattern and we need to fundamentally learn how to process and integrate these emotions that are triggered and to start relating to things in a healthier way, to food, our body, and our emotions, things we wouldn't have been taught or are distorted because of this pattern. And by knowing that this is what we need to do, there's a level of discomfort, there's a level of change and challenge, but it's also exciting. So all of this apprehension about looking at this, you can look at it as there's a solution to how you've been feeling. Because if you've not been feeling good, if you feel like this is dragging your life, if you feel like you're in pain, there's a way out. And that's exciting and that gives you hope. And I hope you can feel that in your body, because change requires us to move out of our comfort zone, and we're going to be feeling new emotions of maybe nervousness or fear or excitement. And we have to really think, do we want to stay where we're at? Because as those emotions keep us stuck, they don't change our pattern and we don't get to where we want to go. On the other side of discomfort, as we move through it, is ease and confidence. As we move through those emotions in our nervous system and allow them to flow, it brings us back to calm in our nervous system, and ease and peace and confidence, better moods, better digestion. And that's how we resolve this. It is a nuance for emotional eating, but that is sort of the process. And so what I want you to take away from this video is that discomfort is going to be part of staying in a coping mechanism, and it's going to be part of creating change. You have to choose your discomfort. What are you willing to live with? You know, I see women that have been in this pattern for years and decades, and sometimes they come up and they talk themselves out of going into a program. But I want you to really think, what is the cost to you of staying in this uncomfortable comfort zone? With emotional eating, the road down this is really, it's going to impact your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. And if you choose to be uncomfortable for a small amount of time to get to the other side, that road looks like physical, mental, and emotional health, and a shift in your nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest, which is where there's calm and ease and peace. So you have a choice to make. There's a discomfort that will last the rest of your life if you stay in the pattern, or short-term discomfort to learn how to be with it so you can move through it more quickly and not stay in this rut. So if you want to get started on resolving your emotional eating, the first step I always recommend, and this is the first step my paid clients go through, is learning to discern true from emotional hunger. This is going to help you start seeing your pattern and understanding this is true hunger, this is emotional hunger, and to start catching your trigger so you can start seeing when the pattern is presenting. So if you'd like to grab that guide, there's a link below. It's free. And this is how you're going to get started on resolving this pattern. If you want to find out more about the actual process, the 12-week container that I guide clients through, the Emotional Eating Evolution program, you can find out more below. So in this program, you have the step-by-step process, you have weekly coaching and support and accountability, and you have the in-depth tools to get you through the discomfort, get you through the challenges and resistance, to get you to the other side so that you can create that ease and confidence around food and in your body in a sustainable way. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about what I've shared today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.